Bureaucrats will demand that Boris Johnson aligns to EU rules as the price to pay for ending the Northern Ireland trade row. EU officials hinted that they would limit the number of trade checks between mainland Britain and the region if the Prime Minister signs up to the bloc's regulations for animal and plant health. The suggestion comes after the bloc announced it was suing the UK over his move to defy EU-ordered controls on shipments of supermarket goods in the Irish Sea. EU Commission Vice President Maros Sefcovic gave the Prime Minister a month to back down or risk being hauled before the European Court of Justice (ECJ), but the top bureaucrat proposed entering into political negotiations with Brexit Minister Lord Frost in the hope of finding a compromise. He believes the UK could reduce the number of trade checks required under the Northern Ireland Protocol to prevent a hard border by dynamically aligning to the bloc's food safety rules. To keep the Irish border open, the region effectively remains part of the EU's single market and some checks are now made on some products arriving from the rest of the UK. An EU official said, if, for instance, the UK were willing to envisage continued alignment with EU SPS rules, many of these problems would be solved. The difficulty that we faced up until now the UK government to do so. The source added, we are willing to discuss these matters, and stand ready to do so. The first step would be for the UK to tell us exactly what they intend to do, and when, in order to implement the protocol in full. This is a second violation of international law on the same issue. We think that is an enormous problem because there are real-life issues behind all of this. Whitehall officials say that Downing Street will not consider any offers that lock Britain into the EU's regulatory sphere. Insiders have signaled they are instead ready to enter into a legal showdown with Brussels over No 10's plans to unilaterally delay the introduction of EU trade checks on Northern Ireland. They insisted the move was simply to stop supermarket shelves in the region from running bare. And their actions were needed because bureaucrats had dragged their feet in recent talks over possible exemptions from red tape for Northern Ireland. Government lawyers have informed ministers they've done nothing wrong and say Brussels is overreacting. A UK spokesman said, low-key operational measures like these are well precedented and common in the early days of major international treaties.